Morning, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. My name's Chris and I'm here to assist you with completing a marketplace application or answering any questions you have about marketplace. And what brings you in today?
Well, I turned 26 about a month ago, and all this time I've been on my parents' policy, and now I had to get insurance on my own. So my mom had gotten a letter saying that I had wasn't able to be on our policy anymore because of my age. So I went online and I did the application and I filled it out and I got mine and I sent in my payment and everything, and I thought everything was good. Well, then I got this letter and saying that I needed to prove my income, and I'm not quite sure what that means.
Okay, sure. By the way, would you like to have a seat?
Sure.
Oh, awesome. Do you have the letter with you?
Yeah, let me check. I think
Well, it's okay if you don't have the physical letter.
everything goes in here. I travel with everything. Oh, wait, here it is.
As long as
Here
you
it
know
is.
your marketplace account information, we can access your letter from your account. Could you write your full name along with your password and username on this piece of paper so that I can access your full account?
Oh, okay. Do you think this letter will help? This is my letter.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you found the letter. Well, great. Well, look, this letter is confirming that the enrollment was completed and it states the amount of the premium due. The insurance is effective as of July 1st, 2017, and the notice mentions an income DMI. That's just an acronym. It means data matching issue. All that is when the data matching issue was generated because your reported income couldn't be verified by the marketplace. So you have 90 days from the date of this notice to provide acceptable proof of your income to the marketplace.
Okay, so take a pause there real quick. So starting, without getting any big questions, what did you guys notice? Any issues or concerns or something that might have consent form?
Consent.
Yes, and you notice he asked for consent form. He asked for his personal information and account information and all of that before getting a consent form. And that's all. None of that can happen first thing after greeting and saying hi and whatnot as consent form. What was something else that maybe could have been done differently or? Yes.
Me? I kind of wanted to hear him say, I'm a navigator and my job is da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of, just kind of sat down. People, a lot of times they know they're coming to us to get assistance, but they don't, and sometimes they don't know, a navigator doesn't mean anything to them, so you might have to kind of go out of your way to explain it. And you can do that kind of, you can do that part before the consent form, but really, before getting into any real personal information, yeah, you have to have the consent form.
And just the letter is not gonna help. He would have to ask for if she remember what her username and her password is, because that's how he's gonna ask.
No, but he doesn't have to ask. Yes,
Okay.
and that was part of the issue though. He asked all of that. He wanted her to write it all down before the consent form.
But how did he ask that?
Do you have?
How did he ask
He
that?
asked
What did he
to
ask
write
you to
it
do?
down.
No.
He basically just told her to give it to him. He didn't,
He
But
said
would
write
you
it down.
for him?
Yes.
That's something that you would do.
No.
No.
Why is that?
Or she has the ID and username because she didn't apply already. He didn't.
No, she had already
Yeah,
applied.
he
She's
said
coming
green
for
card.
the.
And it's on the green card, and
Okay,
you
this,
say,
he didn't show his identification.
We can show them the card as the assurances, but we don't actually have to show them the card.
I always do.
Oh, yeah, no, it's more of a
This,
reassurance thing for
you
the
show that you
consumer.
are very professional and
Correct.
the people feel secure,
Yes,
But when we put it on that green card, we tell them,
I do.
yes,
we
this,
write this down, but we don't keep it.
Yeah,
We sit down
I
to
mean,
it.
that's bad.
yes, correct. Yeah, and that's just for us to make sure that, for consumers who, they fill out those security questions and they, it's case sensitive, so they'll write it down and they may not use it for a year, and in a year they don't remember what their favorite food was. So, but anytime we do write that down, of course, after the consent form, we want to make sure that they realize that we can't keep it, this isn't something that we're going to file away or anything like that.
And I don't know if I would have just like harped on, I'll help you with the marketplace. I think I would have said, I can assist you with your ACA application that you completed through the marketplace.
Yeah.
how I think I would have addressed it. Well, instead of just saying, marketplace market. That's,
I always introduce myself,
Mhm.
my name, and as a navigator. It's,
That you said something.
that's what I always do that before, and then ask them for the consent, This is a form that gives me consent, and we go over a little bit of it before we do this, before we do anything. So introduce yourself too. That's important that people know who you are.
Oh,
And this is
I
kind of
really
a
know.
conversation we were having back here. I like to positively identify you, so I do ask for driver's license or whatever. And I also like to have it, and I ask them, is this your address? Cause you have to ask them a couple of times, and so if this is their address, I don't have to keep asking you, if this is your address or whatever. And is it correct?
Yes, and that was what I was gonna say, is because, for example, if they moved recently, and that's part of the reason that they came to see you, part of the issue is figuring out if they've updated their license or not, because 9 times out of 10, the address that they're gonna want on the application is the address that's on their driver's license. That's not always the case, but yeah, that's a good response as well. Anything else before we move on from the consents?
She tells him why she's there.
Yes, but that was an example for other, for good practices more than anything else. Away from the consent, was there anything else that anybody noticed? There's another big one. What's a DMI? Okay, we know what that is.
Yeah.
But he said that. Yes, what's a data matching issue? That's what I was getting at. He explained what he explained what the DMI just means, data matching issue, but he didn't explain what a data matching issue is. Because to someone who's just coming in, that's not something that they're expected and most likely are gonna know. So if you say you have a data matching issue, they go, So that could have been something that could have been done a bit differently, is actually explaining, you have a data matching issue. This means that when you completed the application, they accepted everything, but there was enough of a difference between what you put on your application and what the marketplace actually had on file. And that's actually, it's a 25% difference, meaning that it was enough of a difference that they required actual pay stubs or something like that in order to verify the consumer's income. So that's all it is a check. Data matching issue can maybe sound scary to some of the consumers, because they don't know what that means. So it's important to kind of reassure them on any of the acronyms we're dealing with, and I know that can be difficult because we get so used to dealing with them, and it's easier for us because we know what they mean. But the consumers aren't going to know what any of the acronyms we use are. Even ACA. ACA is, what's the ACA? Well, you gotta spell that one out too.
Before we continue, I've noticed a change, like when you're doing an application and you go in for the income, that individual's income is already in there.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. When it's W-2 only. It's W-2 person.
Right. No, well, they actually had.
But it's not common.
They had it in as a monthly income, and it was incorrect. So I went in and I did an edit to change it. But,
Yes.
To the.
Did you have a problem editing it? Okay.
Not at all.
You say that we don't need mandatory to show the.
We don't have to. It's always good to have it on you and whatnot.
We don't have to. I think that we need to.
Well, we can, but it's not something that's required by our card, physically showing our
identification. I think that is mandatory for me. And even when somebody called me or emailed me, they didn't know nothing about me, just for reference, whatever, I send the photo on my business card. It's something more professional and more security for the persons. It's my way.
It depends on who you're working with. It depends on target populations and things like that. But that's a very good thing. But it's not necessarily, It just depends on.
There's one more big thing. Not so much big, but it was actually a smaller detail, but it was very important. It was right at the end. I don't know if anybody caught it.
Crickets means no.
Oh, okay. And it's small, but it's important. He said that she has 20 days to send in her income verification information. Or I'm sorry, not 20 days. 90 days.
90.
That's half true. You have 90 days to send it in and for it to be processed and for the issue to be resolved. So if you send it in on day 89, then you're going to miss that 90-day threshold. and it's gonna start that whole process of losing the tax credit and all this other stuff. So it needs to be done as soon as possible, and just saying, as long as we send it in within the 90 days, it's not enough. It has to be, the issue has to be resolved within that 90 days. So those are all, unless anybody else had any other comments or questions or concerns, we're gonna move on to the next scene. Our,
Ready for scene 2?
yeah, we're ready.
Jackie, you currently working?
Well, I work a few gigs on the weekends at local bars, and I give guitar lessons on the side. So I do, I do have a few jobs.
That's cool. How long you been playing guitar?
Probably about 14 years.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I teach a lot of young kids and learn how to play, instruments, and it's really
Nice.
fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Now let me ask you: would you be considered an employee of these bars, or are you self-employed? In other words, are you paid cash, or does your employer give you like a pay stub and a paycheck?
Well, I'm kind of self-employed because I, go out and get, the gigs and stuff. I don't work just for one particular bar. And then my guitar lessons, are on the side. I do get paid like cash from bars, and I do get some personal checks sometimes. It just depends. And I do kind of keep like a ledger of all my earnings, like through like an Excel file that I
Oh,
have
that's-
all kind of
that's
listed on there.
Perfect. So you do keep a ledger.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you can actually submit a copy of that ledger as proof of your income.
Okay, great.
Not just that. I was wondering, did you file your taxes for 2016?
Yes, I did. I did file taxes for 2016, and I do plan on, filing it. I have filed it every year. And I think that, last year I made like around 8,000, but I think I'm on track to make like 18,000 this year.
Okay.
So I should be able to make a lot more
Okay. So you think you're gonna be making more money?
money this year.
And we'll take a quick break there. First, what?
I'm gonna have a record deal.
One.
What to throw that
Hold on,
in?
before we get into issues, what prompted the data matching issue? What prompted what started that whole process? The income. What about it?
Yeah, he didn't say.
Okay, yeah, based on what she put in and what was actually, what
What they have a record
they have a record of.
And what kind of type of information she needs to send to,
Yes, that was another thing I was gonna ask is
which
what,
he never told her that she can send her last tax, 2016, the file taxes.
yeah, and that's something I was gonna ask is what's something that she can submit to prove, to
That
verify her income? So that's one, are there any others considering the type of?
ledger.
Yes.
He used the ledger.
Okay, was
She's self-employed.
Mhm.
Does she know about claiming her expenses against that income?
well, that's something they didn't discuss, but that is something you could, ask explaining how the income is,
I've worked with some people that didn't
No, I
know they
wouldn't
could
ask,
go.
would we do that? Because that's something a tax person would do, not
Well,
the applicant.
What?
Well, we,
Out there.
well, we do wanna make sure that since it is
On
on
the
self-employed, it is the net
Profit?
versus the
Yes.
gross with everybody else. Making that distinction is typical, but other than that, yeah, we don't wanna get into tax
It is a
advice or
question
anything else
on
like
the
that.
application,
Right.
profit
Right.
and loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're
Yeah.
self-employed.
But,
Yeah.
I've worked with some who didn't even know they could claim their expenses.
Well, and beyond that, we can't help them do any of that,
Yeah,
that's a tax person, but yeah, that,
But you can advise them to go to their tax person and
Right.
get the
Yes.
correct
Correct.
information.
and one thing I wanted to know is, or another thing I wanted to ask is, so if they don't submit the information in time, or if it's not submitted correctly, what happens?
Call the tax credit.
Yes, well, actually, in this situation, yes. In other situations where, even based on what's, they have on file and versus what's applied, if they're still eligible for a tax credit, they'll just actually default the consumer to the tax credit based on the information they have available. So that means that even though the income list on the application may say X amount of tax credit, that may change it. And they may not know until they actually get, if it's that situation, until they get a bill from the insurance company for that next month. They may still have some sort of tax credit, but it's gonna be different, and that can, be confusing and whatnot for them.
So a good thing to remind her with her being, with her income fluctuating up and down, is that she can come to him like July or before the end of the year, and she can make an adjustment to her income, that way at the end of the year to balance out, and she won't have to pay, you won't owe the federal government anything.
She also said she may make more this year than she did last, so she's going to do an estimated income.
Yes. So what's, and that was something else as a side, what are some suggestions? I mean, what are some reminders or something that you would have made sure to, given the nature of her being self-employed, and to file taxes?
Maintain a copies of their checks or the person, their customer that signs something that pay you, they receive, something like that, no?
Get her to sign, for the Healthy Self campaign.
That's the last thing.
I mean, yeah, we're not there yet, but that's good. Any other suggestions or anything, any clarifications that you think the consumer would need made at this point based on, what's happened so far, because we still have one more scene.
Well, if she submits quarterly estimated taxes.
That could be something to
Or
suggest as
Social
well.
Security to 15% for SC.
Right.
I was that.
Anybody else have anything? You guys kind of covered everything? Okay, cool. So we're gonna move on to the last little scene here.
I have just a few things to point out before you leave today.
Okay.
As soon as possible, upload or mail in a copy of your self-employment ledger. If you need some help with that, you can always bring in your documents to the office, and a navigator here can assist you with
Did you
uploading
write
that
all this down?
information.
Is it a lot that you think I need to remember?
Sure, if you'd like to.
Yes. Can I borrow your pen?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so once again, mail a copy of your self-employment ledger. You can come into the office, a navigator will help you upload that. Now remember, you only have the 90 days from the date to submit the proof and resolve the DMI. Make sure that you file taxes next year, because if you receive an APTC this year, you will need to reconcile that APTC.
What's APTC?
Advanced Premium Tax Credit. Now, when you reconcile, you're gonna find out if the marketplace provided that you're right, that you got the right PTC this year. To reconcile, you're gonna compare two amounts, the PTC you used in advanced during the year and the amount of tax credit you qualify for based on your final annual household income and other eligibility information like family size. So you're gonna use the IRS form 8962 to do this. If the marketplace paid your insurance company more PTC than you qualify for, you're gonna pay the difference with your federal taxes. So if the marketplace paid less, you're gonna get the difference as a refundable credit at tax season.
Okay, I think I could, so I just have to, send in that form, right?
Right.
Or the ledger now?
Right, and remember that, you could lose part or all of your financial help, like the PTCs and the cost sharing reductions, if you don't upload or mail the proof of income and resolve that DMI within 90 days of that letter.
Wow, okay. Very good. Okay, I got it, I think. Thanks for everything, thanks for all your help, and if I need anything, I'll give you a call.
Not a problem, it was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
You have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
So real quick, round of applause for all of our.
Good luck with your record deal.
You didn't ask about a code.
Yeah, I know everybody. I know everybody has a list of things.
He also used the 90-day again.
Okay, so use the 90 day.
I would have walked clear about them.
And too many acronyms.
Okay, too many acronyms. No, not a whole lot of explanations for the acronyms. Okay, so
Information.
there's a lot of.
It wasn't even layman term, it was like, okay, you're just filling off a script.
So it's a lot of information in a very rapid fire with not a whole lot of explanation for it.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't ever let the consumer write down.
You do all the writing?
If I do all the writing, this is what you have to do. Poof, 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 hand it to them and.
Or highlight the letter that already have most of the information.
Yeah, but if you just hand them the letter and say off you go, they're what are they gonna do with it? Was there anything else as far
Yes.
as yes?
In her case, as a customer, I realized that she didn't know what's going on with her income proof. Second, she didn't know what is APTC. So for me, as a person that I give permission to go into your account and review all her application. Because probably you have wrong things or things that you don't understand. Probably your dependence or I don't know, a lot of things that I realize that they have make
Just want to go in and double check
problems,
some of
yes.
the information. Okay.
He said you need to mail a copy.
There we go.
know that things when you send it,
Well, you don't mail anything.
you don't mail anything.
Well, okay, but going with that further, it's, all right, here you go mail this.
Go mail it, yeah.
What made
As if
it
the consumer don't do it themselves.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and that was part of it, is instead of, you know, even if it required another appointment, do we
Correct.
recommend that consumers run off by themselves and do it by themselves and get back to us if they have a
Yeah,
problem?
yeah,
Or, I mean, hey, let me get you on my calendar real quick. That was another
But
big thing I wanted to point out.
It did say you can bring it back and a Navigator will upload it.
We said you can bring it back, but do we wanna do that, or do we wanna say, hey, you wanna go ahead and schedule the appointment? Make sure
Because
they
at the
come back
beginning, he
in.
asked for her username and password, so my thing is, why don't you just go ahead and let's access your system and see what you have. Do you have your information so we can go ahead and upload? She could have had it. He never asked if she had it. She just said she had a ledger, so you don't know what information she possibly
Oh, yeah,
had.
she said she had everything in her case. in her-
Well, that's true. She did. She was bringing out verification letters.
So you could,
So,
so it's,
He could have actually
yeah.
did everything in
So that could have been
that
dependent on time, if, you know, there had been time, to go through it all, and that was something that she was comfortable with doing after explaining everything, you could do it there, but if she didn't, you could always, okay, let's get back together, schedule an appointment for another day whenever she didn't have a gig or whatever.
And when she said, well, what is APT? I would have went in detail to explain to her that that is the amount that you qualify for, that the federal government will pay towards your premium, each month or quarterly, however, because they can set it up however they want, which the majority of the individuals use it monthly, because who wanna wait until the end of the year to use their premium tax credit? So I would have explained that to her to let her know, because on the eligibility results, it actually show how much the federal government will pay. So I would have went in more detail with her to explain to her what the premium tax credit was, and let her know this is what the federal government is paying toward, you know, straight directly to the insurance company. You're only responsible for your portion.
Which is why you need to turn this information in.
Right, and, cause a lot of consumers get confused with that.
Mhm.
You know, we've had them to even ask, well, do I need, no, you don't have to, the government will send this directly to the insurance company. This is what you're responsible for.
And also, to go a little bit further than what Dee is saying, because I've had consumers right at that 26 mark, their parents are still paying their premiums. And so I may have, since her income is gonna fluctuate, I may have given her the option, if you feel more comfortable in waiting till you reconcile, which I would explain what reconcile means, if you feel more comfortable in waiting till the end of the year, which few consumers do, but that is also an option. You can't wait and just get that refund.
Yeah, because remember, it's our job to explain to them all of their options, but we're not, they have to make the decision.
Right.
Sometimes they, you know, they might even want help making that decision, but we gotta be careful about that line. Yeah, but making sure that we explain everything.
We should never use acronyms with consumers.
Yeah, that was actually something you can, as far as if you're reading it from the document, but as far as in regular communication, always explaining what they are. But yeah.
And what was the deal with the IRS form?
Well, okay, what was it? I don't know.
I was gonna say, what was the deal with that?
Well, yeah, and as far as explaining, a lot of good consumers who have gone, and this is how they end up, or at least in my case, where they end up coming to me, it's after they've had a problem, they've gone through, say, last year's application on their own, and they were able to do that on their own, but when it actually comes to the reconciliation part and how it affects their taxes, they never got that information. So always making sure that we're explaining that, how all of this is directly tied to your taxes, and that you can, you know, you might have to pay some back of your tax credit or your financial assistance. So there can be a host of issues that can come up if you're not, especially if you're self-employed and you're not keeping track of your income. So yeah, just giving an explanation of how all of this is directly tied to your taxes. That was something that was kind of briefed over, but that we would want to go into a lot more detail when we're working with a consumer.
Not the 8962, you don't need to bring that in. Your tax people have that. We tell them about the 1095-A.
Yes, which they use to complete that. Now, if you were to bring up that yes, you do need the 1090, you'll need this form to complete a form that the IRS actually needs. But just making sure you're explaining everything as you go. But yeah, throwing out the IRS form, they're not. People aren't going to hear that, or at least not. It's not going to register.
I explained to all the ones that I work with at the end also, that to expect a 1095A from the marketplace, if it's through Medicaid, it's a 1095B, I believe, B or C. But anyway, I tell them to expect that before you do your taxes, or if your return will be held until it's completed. I mean, we've dealt with a lot this year, 1095.
Update their address, but they don't.
Yes. Well, and this thing now, if it does, this is kind of a side, but if they don't get it in the mail because of whatever reason, if they complete the application online, what can they do?
They can come in.
Okay, they can come in because you can
They got
download
to
it.
use
As
the
long as there
information.
wasn't an issue or a problem with,
DMI.
yeah, with for example, DMI, they should be able to access it from their marketplace account. And a lot of times the consumer doesn't realize that, especially if they set up everything for mail and they don't use the account, the online website for anything other than when they come see an assister or a navigator or something like that. So then knowing that they can actually have it and print it and that's something they can walk out with when it gets to that time is important as well.
Sometimes they actually have never opened it.
Well, just realized that she did the application by herself, but they never talk about what she choose about the plan, and she feel comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, she's already effectuated right now, so there's not, I mean, the plan's already effectuated, so she's already.
Oh, no, have time for, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean,
All the time, okay.
maybe follow up with some coverage to care information, booklet and whatnot, but as far as, you know, that part's already been
I
set.
think for me, the biggest thing at the end was she felt lost.
Yes.
She felt lost, and you should never leave a consumer feeling more confused than when they walk into
Yeah.
you. And I don't know, I just felt like he should have been more, of course, all the terminology he used was just over her head.
Mhm.
And then he talked really, really fast, and she sitting there like, okay. But I think that's a big portion, because you want to be able to let your consumer know that you care about them and that you're trying to make
Yes.
this process as smooth as possible.
So, you know, kind of an empathetic link going on. Being a little bit more personable, a little less, you know, just data and acronym heavy.
Correct.
Because that's something that a lot of these people that we're getting and that we get, they're either having an issue like this, so they've already possibly contacted the marketplace, but they've had issues, you know, getting, and by the time that they get to us, sometimes they're frustrated, sometimes they are lost. So yeah, so part of it is we have to reassure them a bit, you know, that regardless, we're gonna help them sort out kind of whatever problem that they have. I like that.
And to me, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like it was a threat at the very end.
Oh.
When he said, you need to do this, and if you don't, I mean, it was like, okay.
Well, and that goes back to it's not untrue necessarily what he said. It's just it's the way you say it, and that's with a lot of what we do. It's not exactly what. Yeah, we have the information, but it's how we're relaying it to the consumer in a way that is best for them. You know, I mean, that's a lot of what ends up being what we do.
And kind of how somebody else said, you know, they write, because I do that, I write on the envelope, you know, what the next steps for the consumer needs to be. And it may be a little elementary, but I tell them now, what is it that you need to do? You know, I need them to explain that to me to make sure that they're understanding what I add, you know, what, you know, the instructions are.
Yeah, because you do, you know, get a consumer who will. Do you understand? Yes.
Yes.
And the answer is no. They don't. Which again, that doesn't so much go back to them. That's part of our challenge is making sure that we're working at whatever their level is. So unless was
Question.
Yes.
When accessing the personal information, the questions, the password, the card that you're writing this down on, I just need a little more clarification. It's okay to request that information and help input it so you can get access to the information, but then at the end, you want to make sure you give the card back to the consumer and make it clear that you're not keeping any of that information.
And it doesn't necessarily, if they've already set everything up in advance, you know, you don't necessarily may not want to ask for their information because that's their username and password,
That's
if
fine.
they know it, they can type it in themselves, you know.
I have asked them if they would like to put in their information.
Yes, and sometimes they do.
Unloading the document
Yeah.
inside her
And
application.
sometimes they wanna put in, you know, it's their password and whatnot.
Is there any information that at no point we should request from them, such as the answers to their 3 questions or their, or is all of that available if necessary to request?
As far as for the application, anything to do with the application, now, and that goes into our consent form, they don't have to provide us with any information that they don't wish to provide, but they need to know that that may prevent us from continuing with some part of the application. But yeah, anything that's requested on the application is fine, of course, after we've done the consent form. Now, beyond that, there's no, for example, health-related information that we need. However, when we're providing information on the plan selection side, you know, do you have a chronic health condition or something like that, may not be entirely out of place, because that can affect, if there's a particular medication that they need, and we need to pull up the drug formulary, that can be something, but that's kind of after you've, let's say, almost gotten to know them a little bit. That's not necessary for the application. That can just be useful in explaining the differences in the plans and what might be, asking them what they're looking for in a plan, beyond just premium. That's where some of that might come up, but as far as anything that's connected to the application itself, I mean, no, they can of course refuse or not want to answer. And some of the questions you can skip, they're optional. If they don't want to answer, they can skip them and it doesn't affect the application.
I just thought I got a question wrong about the 3 questions and having that information made available to.
The security questions?
Yes.
Oh, and no, as far as assisting them in writing, you know, if you're setting up the account, yes, you can, because for example, explaining that it's the answers to the security questions are case sensitive. That's part of the reason we want, you know, we can't keep any of the information, but we do want it on something, or at least for them to be sure that they know it.
Yeah, we have the big envelopes, and that's one of the first things. The consent form, and I tell them, everything will be put in this envelope that you give me. And we go through the application. I print the application out for them, and I put it in that envelope. I print out the eligibility report, and I put that in that envelope. I go over it with them, and then I put it in. I say, you take this home and you take care of it. It's important papers. This is very important. Your green card goes in there. Your consent form goes in there. And it's important that I think you print out the application, because sometimes they say, oh, I forgot about this, and it's going to change, and I want to know. So I print it out and give it to them. I said, everything that I have put in this computer that you told me is in this envelope, and you have a record of it. It's not something that they can come back and say, well, you told me this. No, I have this record printed out. You have it. You have the exact amount.
And when you finish, once you finish and you get certified and everything, that's when June will sit down with you and go through all of those processes. I like to think of it like this. Have you ever been to a casino or to a racetrack where you see the dealer at the end do this? You know, so the cameras can see that the hands are clean. I like to think of it like however something, you know, I like to think of it like that. When you finish with the consumer, okay, that you've got all of that information that you either giving back to him or that he or she is seeing you shred right there, so that there's a peace of mind to know that you are not keeping any of that information or remembered any of that information. Yes, you might want to write that down so that you have it to be able to enter it, but you want to go over and beyond making sure that they know that you're not keeping any of that, okay? The only information we ever want to keep afterwards is their consent forms to participate, and their healthy, and if they consent to the healthy self, their contact information, so that we can continue to engage them throughout the year. There's some other things that we might talk about starting to keep, kind of thinking about, you know, meeting with some other grantees. There's the ability to keep some of that information, some of their personal identifying information, not their social security numbers or anything like that, but just contact information so that we can continue to contact them throughout the year to remind them. Kind of wrapping my head around that, because I think we cover all of that in the healthy self consent, to keep them, to keep communicating through them through our newsletter. But we'll talk about that some more. But right now the answer is we just don't keep any of that. The best practice is to ask them to turn the screen and say, here, can you enter your we need to access your email address. So here, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to turn this away. But we also know that sometimes people are like, yeah, I don't know, this is not written A, B, C, D, E on this keyboard. They don't know what to do. So then we have to help them with that. But our whole goal is to make sure that we reassure them throughout the whole process that their identity is safe with us and that we are not keeping anything from them.
Yeah, and on that, one more thing is they didn't actually get into any of the online stuff really, but when you're entering information, always wanting to clear your cache and delete your history and clear out any of that stuff that actually, whether or not you know it, you can set your settings, your browser settings, to not remember information that's input into fields and whatnot. And that's always something we want to do, because the last thing you want to do, even if it's not on purpose, is after the consumer's done and gone and they had to log into their email address, and you go to open up your Gmail and it's not your Gmail that you're logged into, it's theirs. So we never want that to happen ever. So you want to always make sure that even before they leave, and that's something that I do, is I clear out everything, just so they know that, it's done. And I make sure they at least, that they can see that that's going on.
They can see you log out of their application also.
Yes, also.
This is why everybody should have their own Wi-Fi. Because if you're in public locations, the public library, you do not want to tap into the library's Wi-Fi system, because that information is not encrypted and people could pull that. So
we were talking about that this morning at breakfast. So that's how that happened. Because my files, I like it, but my Wi-Fi is kind of spotty in some of my parishes.
yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, Union Parish does not even have high-speed internet. Okay, so yes,
And
so
the parish over Claiborne.
yeah, I know. It's you gotta, and that could be a challenge working with consumers. Is that you have to go to a community where you have access. I mean, this is horrible in 2017 that we're talking about that, but we've got areas that still. I mean, entire parish, Union Parish, does not have high-speed internet.
I know.
Okay. So great, excellent. Thank you all very much.